The FujiCast is an independent loading zone production.
Sunday, 17th of May.
The FujiCast.
Welcome to the FujiCast. It's Sunday service time with a Reverend Kev. You know, when you were suggesting that you'd like to do other jobs, I mean, you've talked about being a teacher, you've talked about being a postman, you've talked about being a dustman. What about the Reverend Kev? Hey?
Well,
I sense your enthusiasm.
Yeah, I think it's a bit late for that.
No, but you are a churchgoer.
Yeah,
I think
true. But I think I've got other things in my life.
I see. Yeah, I know you can't be, can you? Wrong religion. Hello, Neil. Back to Sunday school. This is why I was useless in Sunday school. Terrible. Okay. Well, you'd have to swap rugby shirts, wouldn't you, to go to the other side if you were going to be the Reverend Kev? Not quite sure that would work, though, would it? How are you, anyway?
I'm okay, yeah. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. Welcome to the FujiCast Daily. Once weekly, now daily, as we join the community of photographers together to talk about photography and take your questions. Don't forget, you can still send them in. Click at fujicast.co.uk. What did you say yesterday? Was it 59 or 60 episodes we'd now done?
Oh, no, 58 or 50. I think this might actually be the 60th.
Is it?
I think so. Hang on. Let me. While we're here.
When it was while you're looking that up, I mean, it was reasonably easy to get enough questions and enough thoughts and enough feedback in when we were doing it once a week. In fact, it was getting to a stage where we were thinking, are we ever going to get a chance to read all these questions out? We were planning YouTube videos where we were going to do a sort of mop-up YouTube things. But, of course, having, 60? Have you added them up yet?
Yes, this is our 60th.
60th!
Yeah.
Right,
now, listen, everybody listening.
Yes.
Neil and I put a lot of effort into this. Neil more than I.
No, we both do.
We put effort into this.
Yes.
Now, we feel we've had a little off microphone conversation. Actually, we didn't. But
God, where are you going with this?
Say this anyway.
Hold on.
Warning.
Kev's off on one now. This could be random.
We feel very let down by all of you.
No, don't do this.
All of you.
Why?
Because you are not sending in enough questions.
Don't be rude.
And
He didn't more questions.
He didn't send any. He didn't.
Doesn't have to be about cameras. It can be about anything.
Well, that's why we like Tech Free Tuesday. Because actually over here is the list of... I've got it here. It's the pile. You can see it, can't you? Tech Free Tuesday questions are sitting there, shiny and ready to go for Tuesday.
Send us anything you want. Today is our 60th daily episode in a row.
Yes.
That's like 3 months, all bar the randomnesses of different monthly
Good
counts.
heavens, I know. Oh.
However, we're going to stop at 62 unless we have 50 new questions.
What? Kevin,
Yeah,
we're never going to get
50.
that. Well, that's it then. So
keep going. Go.
Well, from this coming,
laptops out. Go.
This coming week, that means that's it. We can both sit in the. We will be socially distanced by about an hour's drive, but we can sit there on the phone instead.
Yeah,
recording, having a beer. How about that?
Indeed. Sounds
anyway,
good.
I'm not sure if Kevin's serious. Sometimes he does go off on one, dear listener.
I'm very serious.
Are you? Okay, all right. I went to B&Q, by the way, to go get some stuff for because we're going to do some garden art today. Huh? Oh, we're hoping to sell it and become zillionaires, Rodney. But I went to B&Q. The queue was absolutely. I know why they call it B&Q now. It was absolutely huge. I wouldn't be surprised if it went round the block and reached Malmesbury. So
but they're doing it properly, aren't they, B&Q?
They certainly
doing proper social distancing in the store, which is good to see.
Well, I went to Wix in the end. It's impossible to say Wix without going Wix. You know, that guy that does the voiceover. But when I got in, I followed the line marked on the floor, which in a DIY store is hopeless for me because I spend all my time aimlessly looking around for stuff usually. 4 sheets of... Get this, Kev. 4 sheets of MDF, 2 tins of paint, set of brushes, 45 to 50 minutes.
I know, and if you go past it and you've missed it and you think, hang on, I need to go back to get some nails, you're stuffed because there's 18 people behind you. The thing is, when I go to a DIY store, all I'm looking for is the pasty dispenser and the Coke and stuff like that. And it's like, that's it. There's no point in me going anymore.
Is that all you do in a DIY store?
Yeah, that's why I love IKEA, because of those hot dogs. They do vegan hot dogs.
Has IKEA opened yet, by the way?
Don't know. Pass.
Imagine that, though. Imagine a queue snaking through IKEA.
But IKEA has always had that funny little, have to walk this way, walk past everything we want you to buy first.
Do you know what? Yes, you're absolutely right. Yeah, they had this going years ago. And that's why whenever I go to IKEA, I spend exactly £1,374. I only went in there to get some of those fancy dime bar things.
They're very clever. Those Danish people are very, very, very clever.
Swedish, not Danish.
Swedish, sorry. Swedish. Oh, sorry, Danish people and Swedish people.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, Scandinavians. We got some feedback. We got a couple of website things because I thought the website was that edition, by the way, the other day was so massive that we're left with a few questions, which I thought we'd dig into as the week goes along. So I've got a couple from that. Hello, Neil. Hello, Kev. One comment or question about websites. Technical one, or technique rather, he said, for creating personal web is Tiddlywiki. A JavaScript-based local or online notebook, an informal database software. It may not look as good as Squarespace or WordPress-based implementations. It may not be fit for professional usage, but for a hobbyist or enthusiast, it's a viable alternative. Have you ever heard of Tiddlywiki? This is from Adnan Onar, who's in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
So Tiddlywiki is like one of those open-source, community-driven things that has all the great intentions of being something fantastic, and it is something fantastic. However, it's clearly written by bearded men in their basements, and so has all of the interface flair of bearded men in their basements.
In their underwear.
Yeah, exactly, who never, ever see daylight.
Oh, I'm sure that's not true.
But actually, he's right. It's quite an interesting project for sure, but it's definitely not something for the faint-hearted.
Is it not? Is it difficult to understand?
Yeah, it's not so much difficult to understand. It's just very rudimentary in its design. It's very database driven. So.
Oh, okay. What was number one, by the way, on the day you were born? Because I'm just thinking, because Adnan Onar is from Massachusetts, and that was I always, whenever I hear Massachusetts, it was the Bee Gees number one the day I was born.
Oh my God, I have no idea. Remember? So I'm now typing in number one,
the day that Kev was
10th August.
No, you don't need to put your
1992.
Date in. They'll know you. Just put when Mullins was born. What was number one? They'll know. They'll say, not Kev. Is it Kev? What was it?
Hang on. I got it. January. So I was only born in 1992. So what? It was Backstreet Boys or something. No. Ooh, look at that.
What was it?
Donny Osmond, Young Love.
Young Love, Donny Osmond.
Yeah.
Was it really?
What was yours?
Massachusetts, the Bee Gees. Mm.
That's where I ended up when we did our Wikipedia down the rabbit hole.
You did, funnily enough, yeah. How weird.
Massachusetts.
There's something very strange going on. Right, question from Raluca Chase from the web thing the other day. Although actually this is something that's a little bit wider, I think, as a subject. Kevin, you said that blogs are time sensitive. Can you elaborate more on that?
Yes, I suppose I can. So things like journals and blogs and the structure of those things, Google sees as recent news. Mm. So over time, they become less important in Google's mindset, if you like. So stuff in your top menus, like your style page or, about me page and everything, will have more weighting, if you like, partly because of the fact that they're always stuck on the top of your menu. So blogs, typically, you will have noticed, probably, which annoys the out of me,
right?
You will have noticed a lot of blogs these days have stopped putting dates on their blog posts when they were published.
Do people choose to do that, or is that just the design?
Because they think that if Google sees the fact that it was published in 2017, it might be less interested.
Ah.
However, that's a whole load of tiddlywinky.
No, it was Tiddlywiki. Tiddlywinky, I think, is something entirely different, Kev.
Tiddlywinky.
But it is a Sunday afternoon, so you never know.
Wasn't he what was one of those things, that TV character show for the little kiddies?
Oh, you mean...
yeah, Tiddlywinky on it.
No, he was Binky Bonky. No, what was he?
No, you're thinking of the Magic Playground or something. No,
in the Night Garden.
Popo.
Nina. Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. That's the one. And one of them had a real strop, didn't he, or something, and left the show.
It was huge, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that was... oh, God, what was that show? I'm thinking of In the Night Garden with an Inky Nonk.
No. Yeah, that was the Ninky Nonk.
Yeah. But that show... both those shows, the people that wrote them, what on earth were they on when they wrote that stuff?
there's going to be people listening to this program now throwing things at their record players or whatever. Saying, it's such and such, and I still can't remember what it's called.
Record players?
Tiddlywinky, Popo,
Popo, Mimi, and
Mimi. I told you it was Mimi.
Anyway, where were we?
Anyway, the dates.
Dates, yeah.
The dates on blog posts.
It is a Sunday. You have to bear with us. It's been a long week.
Google will see the blog post arrive, and we'll, because they're brainy people over there, we'll go, oh, this arrived in our index on this day. So just by removing the date from your blog post is not going to suddenly fool Google into thinking it's a brand new piece of content every day. So what drives me mad is when you read, you type into Google, how do I don't know, what's the latest thing on Adobe Lightroom or something? And then this post comes up, and it's not dated. And so you cannot see, if it was written in 2016, I'd immediately dismiss it because it's old.
Yeah.
But because they remove the date, you kind of go through it and you think, hang on, is this recent? So please, for the love of Sundays, leave your dates on your blog posts, especially if it's information. Please, just for me and Popo and Tiddlywinky.
Well, I've found out what it is. Teletubbies is what we're trying to tell.
Teletubbies, that was it.
Tinky Winky, Dipsy, Laa-Laa, and Po frolic and play in the idyllic Teletubby land, while a baby's face in the sun, it was a baby's face in the sun, coos and laughs. The Teletubbies have televisions in their stomachs on which they watch real children. That's a bit weird, don't you think?
That is very weird.
It's a bit odd.
Mind you, I used to watch the Night Garden. Rosa, bless her, when the Night Garden come on, she would get so angry and aggressive at everybody. She'd sit there. She would only be about 8 months old and go, shh.
Oh, because you were making noise.
Yeah, and then we'd watch the Porcupines. And
no, that wasn't the... Were they the Porcupines?
Yes.
So American listeners now, do you get this stuff, American and Australian listeners? I'm not quite sure whether you... Yeah. But that's another weird one, wasn't it?
Yeah, Night Garden.
Yeah. Anyway.
Made a fortune, though. And Mr. Tumble. He's a multi-billionaire.
Oh, yeah. He's a lovely guy, actually. I met him.
Yeah.
He's a really nice guy. Right. Back to the questions, photographically speaking. This one is from Andrew Higgins, who is fast becoming a huge friend of the show because of the amount of time he spends finding interesting things for us to talk about. What does photography mean? Now, this is a very open question, Kev. Stand by. What does photography mean to you? This is sort of lifted from a feature in Grant Scott's podcast, United Nations of Photography, which is a good podcast. But I'm wondering if photography is now hardwired into you. Is the act of photographing an essential part of life, a way of thinking and seeing as well as your work? For myself, it's utterly part of my life. The camera's been a constant in my life, regardless of it also being my work, with almost a need to photograph every single day, or at least look through a photo book or magazine. Have you been bitten like that, Kev? I think you were at the start, weren't you?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard, isn't it? And I know Grant Scott because he was my editor at Professional Photographer magazine.
We talked about him a couple of weeks ago, I think.
Yeah. Nice guy.
Yeah.
No, I'm probably not. I'd like to say that I was, but I'm probably not. I have to say. I mean, I do look at my photo books most evenings and things like that, and I'm not taking pictures as much as I would like, and I have to say I don't wake up in the morning and think I've got to get some pictures of Albie and Rosa getting up, and it's just not there right now. But that's probably because of the times we live in, or the times we're living in. Yeah.
I mean, he does talk about Martin Parr here. Photographers such as Martin Parr, to name just one big star, he says, though I've read about and know personally other photographers, have said they never pick up a camera unless they're working. Now that surprised me about Martin.
It did, yeah, that's true. Well, I don't know if that's true. I've not read that either. I wish I'd known that.
Well, because we have him on the show tomorrow.
We do, indeed.
Yeah.
It would have been a good question.
Plug.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of wedding photographers who only pick up their camera to take photos at weddings. Now, that I think would be bad. I think if that's the case, then that's not really an artistic implementation. That's a business implementation.
Yeah.
However, I have to say, for me personally, I find it hard to think constantly. And maybe this is because there's other things going on and business and, just keeping everything going and what have you, that takes up time. And I don't know whether this is I hope I'm not speaking out of line here, but whether this is the same for people who are, tied up in their business and trying to get that working, or people who are have incomes from elsewhere, and it's less stressful for them. But yeah, for me, at least right now, I'm hitting the computer in the morning, and it's mostly trying to keep the cogs turning rather than thinking creatively about taking pictures of the kids picking their noses.
Do you know, I do. Yeah, I do.
Got loads of those.
I do wonder whether that's something that happened in the crossover between film and digital, because watching Platon's show the other night, I was struck by one thought, and that was because he works primarily with film. He is surrounded by he doesn't spend his life looking at a computer. And I think that's one of the things that's happened since digital photography is that a lot of it is computer, and not much of it is behind the lens, or looking at a negative, or being in a darkroom, or doing some of those more alchemic things almost that are connected to photography that make you a photographer. Because I think sometimes you end up being a computer wrangler more. Yeah,
and that's a question that could lead us down multiple paths. Because when I was watching that, the question I was asking myself was, why is he using that medium format film camera? I think there's a medium format film camera. That was the question that was going through my mind.
Do you think it's because of the romanticism of being connected with film and not looking at the back of a camera? And it was mooted in that show as well that he spends his time looking at the subject, when he's not looking down into the camera, of course, and not looking at the back and chimping, which divorces you.
He said something, I'm not sure whether it was him or whether it was somewhere else, something along the lines of, you have to use a film camera to slow down and, concentrate more.
Yeah.
It's not true that using a film camera makes you slow down and think about things more. Just choose not to press the button so often, or use tiny memory cards that only have 3 picture spaces. And I'm not sure if it was him, in fairness, but I did see it somewhere, and it just made that kind of brought that whole thing together. Yeah. You know what? He would take those pictures, and by golly, they were amazing pictures.
Yeah.
But he would take the picture, he would hand the camera to his assistant.
Yep.
She would take it off to the lab. The lab would process it. The engineer would digitize it. They would go onto the screen, and then they would take it into Photoshop. They would rub things out. They would darken it. They would lighten it. They would do whatever they needed to do. And so this whole idea about the organic nature of shooting with film, in that case, was just not right. You
didn't buy into that at all.
No, not at all.
I tell you what, you wanted a lot more questions. You're going to get a lot more comments now. Stand by. Well, can worms opened? Dennis Skyam. This is a good. This came in for the website bit the other day, but actually, I think it's a really good little subject. With the last thing we end on today. Thing I struggle about is the about section. So he's talking about his website. So I don't actually have an about section, he says. Any tips on how to write a good about me blurb? Short and sweet to the point, Dennis. Love that. If I was going to say something, I think be real. Real is really important, and don't create some sort of thing that you think your customers want to hear.
Let me say something though. Please, for the love of the tiddlywinkies. Don't start your about page with, my love of photography started when my father handed me a camera at the age of 3.
Yes, I know. There's a lot of that. Although I'd rather read that than, I like to bake cupcakes and walk my miniature llama on Sundays. Walk old ladies across the road, and I'd love world peace. I mean, sometimes it does sound like the description for an introduction for somebody circa 1970s beauty pageant.
Yeah, I mean, be honest. And, if you do love baking cakes and you like world peace and your dad did give you a camera at the age of 3, then that's fine. But don't make stuff up just to look trendy. But here's the thing. If you don't have an about page, you will find it very, 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 very difficult to get listed in Google Local.
Oh, is that right? Why?
Well, because they like it. Basically, right. Same as they like physical addresses, things like that makes businesses more real to them.
Do they see the word about? Is that something that Google searches for? Because I mean, the word bio, possibly. About, they're all different words. So how?
I don't know, but they just want. I mean, they're clever, aren't they? They've got very brainy people working there, so they can figure all that stuff out. But they just want to know that it's a real thing. It's not just some kind of fly by night thing that's popped up.
Yeah,
and
There we go. Good advice. So write something about yourself at least. Mm-hmm. Dennis, send it to us. We can sort of do a little bit of on-air editing with it, if you like. That's it for another day. Now, Monday, there's a couple of things happening in this coming week that are really important. Thursday, I'm recording another Ask Andreas episode. So as you correctly pointed out yesterday, he's very much a head honcho, isn't he? And he knows an awful lot about the brand and such a lot about the cameras. So any questions you have at all, make sure you send them to click@fujicast.co.uk. Make sure you do keep sending questions to click@fujicast.co.uk. Otherwise, Kev's going to really lose it. And then
I'm not going to come. I'm not going to come anymore. Don't send them.
I'm not coming out to play anymore. But then tomorrow, very, very special interview. I'm amazed you got this because he doesn't grant this to everybody, does he?
No, he doesn't. So we will be speaking to Martin Parr.
Yes.
And I would say it's a relatively brief interview in comparison to some of the ones you do. But it's interesting, and I feel he's done us a huge favour by coming on the show, and we kind of explained what we were doing on the dailies and how we were trying to help the community and all that kind of stuff. And he said, "Yes, I'll come on there for you," which was very, very nice of him.
No, it was very good of him. So I'm looking forward to that. That's it. We will see you. It'll be Martin Parr Day tomorrow. Look forward to it, Kev. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The FujiCast is an independent loading zone production.
Goodbye, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. We're back tomorrow with another show. Well, unless we're fired, we'll talk to you then. Goodbye, sweetheart. Goodbye. Goodbye.